Welcome to this pitch side explainer. We're dropping you straight into Gillette Stadium today for what is easily one of the most explosive individual performances in World Cup history. We're going full sports highlight documentary right now because honestly, the sheer electricity of this match absolutely demands it. I want you to practically feel the roar of that Foxborough crowd and sense the raw emotion out on the pitch as we break down a game that literally redefined what dominance looks like.
Okay, let's dive right in. 32 minutes. Think about that for a second. That is all it took. Just 32 minutes for Ballon d'Or winner Ousmane Dembélé to completely tear up the script and redefine the concept of a perfect half of football. I mean, in the time it takes most of us to drink our morning coffee and commute to work, Dembélé went and etched his name into the World Cup history books forever.
Section 1. A historic night in Foxborough. Going into this, we were all promised this massive, high-stakes golden boot showdown, right? Kylian Mbappé versus Erling Haaland. But as France stepped out onto the pitch with just this unmatched, terrifying intensity, we were actually about to witness a masterclass in clinical finishing from a completely different superstar. Right from the very first whistle, France established a ruthless rhythm that culminated in a totally dominant 4-1 victory, easily securing them the top spot in Group I.
But, before the whistle blew and all the chaos ensued, there was this profoundly emotional moment. Norway actually presented a beautiful bouquet to the French squad in sympathy for their absent manager Didier Deschamps, who had to travel back to France for his mother's funeral. It was just a stunning, quiet gesture of sportsmanship and humanity before the fierce competition really kicked off under assistant coach Guy Stephen.
Section 2. The 32-minute masterclass.
So let's get into the actual play-by-play of how Dembélé just tore the opposition apart from the kickoff. He didn't just score a hat-trick here. He launched a literal blitzkrieg, finding the back of the net at the 7th, the 20th, and the 32nd minute marks. It was just this absolute tidal wave of offensive pressure. It gave the Norwegian defense zero time to breathe, let alone adjust their shape.
And the synergy on the pitch, undeniable right out of the gate. 7th minute, Mbappé feeds this absolutely perfect diagonal pass over to the right flank. Dembélé receives it, clinically cuts inside, leaves his defender completely in the dust, and just sweeps a powerful shot across the goalkeeper right into the far corner. Surgical.
Then, barely 13 minutes later, it's déjà vu, but with a twist. Mbappé plays provider again, delivering the service. Dembélé cuts inside from the right again, but this time he curls a gorgeous, precision left-footed strike right inside the far post to double the lead. You could just see the pure elation in his celebration. He knew he was completely in the zone, operating on a level that the defense just couldn't comprehend.
Following a super brief Norwegian response from Thilo Osgaard, Dembélé completes his hat-trick in the 32nd minute, and this wasn't just any goal. It was an absolute masterpiece of a team effort. He slotted an expertly placed finish from the center of the penalty area, capping a build-up that incredibly featured every single one of France's 11 players. Really, let that sink in for a second. All 11 players touched the ball before it hit the back of the net. That is the very definition of total football.
Section 3. Rewriting the history books.
To truly understand where this lightning-fast blitz puts Dembélé in the pantheon of football legends, you gotta look at the sheer weight of these stats. He secured the first-half World Cup hat-trick since Oleg Salenko did it for Russia way back in 1994. It's the second fastest from kickoff in World Cup history, trailing only Eric Probst back in 1954. Plus, he joined some incredibly exclusive French company, becoming only the third French player to ever score a World Cup hat-trick alongside the legendary Just Fontaine and his own teammate Kylian Mbappé. But honestly, the ultimate flex is this. Dembélé just pulled off a first-half feat at the World Cup that neither Lionel Messi nor Cristiano Ronaldo ever managed to do. Both of those absolute icons have 0 first-half World Cup hat-tricks. 0. Dembélé did it in 32 minutes. When you're pulling off things at a World Cup that Messi and Ronaldo haven't, you are breathing some extremely rare air.
Section 4. Norway's costly gamble.
Now, to fully grasp how a top-tier match became so lopsided so incredibly quickly, we have to talk about a very controversial pre-game tactical decision. 10. That is the staggering number of regular starters that Norway actually chose to rest. Since they'd already qualified for the knockouts, coach Ståle Solbakken decided to bench his heavy hitters, and that included star striker Erling Haaland and captain Martin Ødegaard. The gamble was pretty obvious: prioritize fitness for the crucial knockout rounds. But man, did that strategy backfire spectacularly. Norway's second-string lineup was left completely defenseless. They were totally overwhelmed by France's attacking onslaught. Honestly, by the time the halftime whistle blew, the match was effectively over, and the momentum of the entire tournament had radically shifted.
And any fleeting, miraculous hope of a second-half comeback? Squashed almost immediately. Shortly after the break, Norway gets awarded a penalty. But Jürgen Strand Larsen delivers a pretty tame effort, and French goalkeeper Mike Maignan saves it with total ease. That was pretty much the nail in the coffin, extinguishing whatever fight Norway had left in them.
Section 5. The road ahead.
Looking at the broader tournament outlook, it's so clear how this historic performance builds France's momentum. 9 points and 9 goals. That marks the absolute most Didier Deschamps' team has ever scored in a group stage. They are firing on all cylinders right now, capping off their first ever perfect group stage at the World Cup. They didn't just qualify today, they sent a terrifying message to the rest of the world.
So, the path forward is set. Les Bleus now march into East Rutherford's MetLife Stadium for the round of 32, where they'll face the runner-up of Group F, which is highly likely to be Sweden. Norway, meanwhile, despite this crushing defeat, has to move on, regroup, and prepare to face Ivory Coast in their next knockout fixture.
And hey, if a flawless first-half hat-trick wasn't enough to scare you, consider the bench. France's depth is simply unmatched. Desiree Doué came on and added a 4th goal, a brilliant header right in injury time to officially seal the 4-1 win. When you have players all over the pitch who can just slot in and perform perfectly when called upon, it firmly cements Les Bleus as the heavy tournament favorites.
Which really brings us to the ultimate question. After thrusting himself right to the very top of the Golden Boot race, alongside guys like Haaland, Mbappe, Vinicius Jr., and Messi, you have to ask yourself, with this record-breaking form and a historic 32-minute hat-trick to his name, is Ousmane Dembélé now the undisputed man to beat at this World Cup? It certainly looks like it right now. And honestly, the rest of the world should be very, very worried.